Hi guys, welcome to this week's Sunday afternoon nap, and as promised here is the Black Powder Battle Report using just the contents of the Waterloo starter set. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick overview of both forces, the table we're playing on, then I'll do a round by round summary at the end of each turn. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so this is the French force for today's game. We've got 1 unit of 6 cavalry, 2 units of French line, and we've got another unit of 6 cavalry there, all commanded by this officer. So that's the French units for the game. Now we'll have a look at the British. Okay guys, so these are the British units for the game today. We've got 1 unit of British Guard, units of Hanoverian, and 2nd unit of British Guard. We've got the cannon and the officer. Also, you notice the guy at the back who's got the standard. I've swapped his head now, so he's not got the hat on and carrying a hat. That's been done. I've also replaced the flags and put the posts down so they fit in the box. So there we go. That's the British forces for today's game. So this is the table for today's game. It's a cigar box battle mat, which I think are excellent for this type of game. We've got 2 units of woods this side, building in the centre, and 2 units of woods that side. So that's it, that's the table layout for today's game. For this game we're going to use the rules as presented in the quick start guide. So the additional unit rules we're not using, we're just using the basic rules for today's game. Okay, so we'll go to the table now and I'll show you the initial deployments, but then what we'll do is I will do a end of round recap on the events that took place in the round. So without further ado, let's start off with the deployment. Okay, so the table's set up. I've got French this side and British over that side. So at the end of turn 1, the French failed their orders and nothing happened, and the British did the same thing. So at the end of turn 1, absolutely nothing has happened. So let's go to turn 2. Okay, so the end of turn 2, the French managed to move forward with everything once because they rolled at 8 for the command roll, so they got 1 move. The British managed to change formation with one of the guard units, and then Fubard trying to fire the cannon. So again, turn 2, pretty uneventful. Let's see what happens in turn 3. Okay, so end of turn 3, managed to order the cavalry around the back of the woods there, and then when I tried to order this unit forward into form line, and failed me order test, so that was my turn over with. Then British again went to change the formation on the guard unit at the side and failed his order test. So it's time to see what happens at the end of turn 4. This turn was a bit more eventful. They moved forward, fired, and the cannon was disordered. They moved forward, fired at this French unit, and they were disordered, and he took 1 casualty from 4 hits, which was lucky. They wheeled and fired and put 2 casualties on that unit, and that's it really. I'm just disappointed this unit didn't get into range to do some damage. Okay, so on to turn 5, let's see what happens. Okay, at the end of that turn, that unit didn't move because it was disordered. they fired at that unit, put a casualty on. Actually put 2 casualties on, but then he moved his commander up and rallied them. They fired at them, did nothing. The Hanoverians shot at that unit and they were disordered. And apart from that, the British fire was ineffective, really. Okay, so go to the end of the next turn. Okay, so at the end of that turn, the French fired into that unit and disordered them, and they're back up to 2 casualties again. They fired back, didn't do anything. The Hanoverian fired at them, disordered them, and inflicted a casualty. This British unit fired at the cavalry, disordered them, got them up to 3 wounds, and then they had to do a break test and they had to retreat 1 full move, which is a long way. So they're on 3 casualties now and disordered. So next turn, let's see what happens. Okay, so the end of that turn, shots from these 2 units caused the guards to retreat. The officer moved the Hanoverians, and then when he went to move this unit, it failed his order test, so then he couldn't move any further. They remained disordered and 1 casualty, and the disorder marker's coming off this now, and I've moved my officer up to put a rally order him on next turn. Okay, so that's the end of that turn. Right, so that was an eventful turn. The officer issued an order to them to move and change formation so I could get effilade on them, and he failed it, which means I couldn't issue a rally order to me cavalry. The centre unit there then fired at the guards, and the guards promptly took casualties and fell back off the table, so they went. Then the British changed formation with them. They fired into my French unit along with fire from the cannon, and it caused them to break and fail. They rolled a 3 on the break test and they were gone. So the middle of the table has been decimated that turn, and we'll go on to the next turn now and see what happens. Okay, so at the end of that turn, the officer ordered them, he wanted to move forward and then form a line, but he only rolled 8, so he only got to do 1 move. I then rolled a 9 for the order test to rally these, which was no good. It was over his thing, so he couldn't do anything, which meant I couldn't order that cavalry unit there. We were promptly shot by the Hanoverians and left the field. That unit moved up along with the cannon, both shot at these, and they're now disordered, but lucky enough they took no casualties. So let's see what happens at the end of the next turn.
Got into the V for victory side.
Yeah, that was a really quick turn, that one. They managed to rally, lose 1 of the markers. They were disordered, so couldn't do anything. And the Hanoverians changed that formation, and then everything shot at these and disordered them again, so they're not going to be able to do anything again this turn. So I think this is going to be the last turn, I think, really. So we'll see what happens at the end of this one. So that's the end of the last turn. I was right about it being the last turn. The Hanoverians charged the French into the flank and caused 4 hits, and the French managed to save 1, so they took 3 casualties. Then they did the morale check, well, break test, and they ran away. So it's a victory to the British Allies, because all that the French has got left is 1 unit of cavalry, whereas the British have got 2 units of infantry, cannon. So it was a well-deserved victory to the English. Okay guys, so that's the end of the game. My French lost. Overall, I really enjoyed the game. Really good fun. The biggest thing that we come across was we noticed the lack of officers. Just having one officer per side is not enough. If you fail your order test like we both did on the first turn, nothing moves. But all in all, I think my French were on the back foot to start. In Black Powder, cavalry don't actually shoot. The weapons are used in close combat. So I had 2 infantry units that could shoot, where the British had 3 infantry units that could shoot. So I was on the back foot. They also had the cannon, so I was being outgunned every turn. So although I managed to get first blood, I managed to get the first casualty. I managed to remove one of the British Guard units. So I got the first blood. Poor consolation, because they then took out my line unit in the centre. I then issued orders to move my other line unit up and form line so they could shoot. But unfortunately, it didn't work like that. They only got one order off. They moved. They couldn't form line. So that means they were only shooting with 1 dice. And then I got shot back by all 3 British units that were left. So I got hit by Guards unit from one side, the Hanoverian unit from the other side, and a cannon from the front. I was really lucky to just end up being disordered and a couple of wounds from that, because realistically that should have been enough to knock me out. But because I was disordered, I can't issue any orders to the unit. So then next turn, the Hanoverian just charged me and just wiped me off the table in hand to hand. So yeah, really enjoyed the game. Hope you enjoyed the battle report. But from what we've played, the next unit I need to get is some officers. So I'm going to order some mounted officers from Warlord, because that's the next unit I need. And then once I've got the officers, we'll play again. But what we'll do next time is we might use in the quick start rules, it tells you to split the unit into groups of 12 men. So I might do that next time, and then we can have, like, as the French player, I can have 1 unit of French infantry with 4 12 men. I can have a brigade of French cavalry with a mounted officer, and then I can have a mounted general, as a backup. So I've got 1 officer to issue orders to the infantry, 1 officer to issue orders to the cavalry, and then I've got a general. If either of them fail the orders, a last resort, a general can issue them, because that was the only thing that lacked in this game, was the lack of officers for issuing orders. And I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks very much for watching if you stayed to the end. So next week, hopefully I'll have me French and British officers will have arrived. I'll show them and crack on with them, and then when they're done, we'll have another game. So thanks for watching, and see you next week.